Love is the Groove is the only song I'd say that really came from feeling terribly, terribly happy. Most of them came from feeling rather sad, I'm afraid. Or at least when I was at some changing point, you know, some really big changing point. It's all about you come to a certain place and you pulsate at the same frequency and you feel at home. That's what that's about. And all through that song I kept having weird sort of rebirthy type experience. I know I sound like a complete ziz, but it just does so happen that I am sort of a hippie, you know, and that's the way it is. This record is sort of the icing on the cake, really. What I wanted was to get some respect. I used to walk into studios and all the male musicians would look at me and say, "Oh, hello, love, make us a cup of tea. Where's the keyboard player?" And I got so fed up with that. I just wanted people to know who I was and have a bit of respect for me as a musician. And I think I've got that now. So this is sort of so I can prove to myself that I can start something and finish something. It's a sort of tying up of a lot of loose ends. And it's for my mother and father. Because my father told me when I was 13 that I couldn't have an electric organ because girls didn't take music seriously. And it wasn't the sort of thing they should do. My songs have always been about things in my life. Mostly about relationships. It's the Joni Mitchell syndrome. In fact, there was a terrible time when I started thinking I was Joni Mitchell and I was just having new affairs all the time to get a new song out of it. How Can I Believe started off as a songwriting job type song. I was sitting in Los Angeles at a keyboard to write a song with someone, and I had no idea what we were going to write, and I just started playing the piano, and How Can I Believe, the sort of melody and all the piano parts of it came out straight away.
Monday wakes me up and it's raining. I'm not strong enough to keep changing. I'm so out of touch with my insides. How long can I trust myself when my heart hides? How can I believe in your love when all you wanna do is control me? Well, that's not the right way to hold me.
Once again, it's a story about one of my relationships. I should say this is really important, and all the women who are listening to this interview will understand this one, but the number of times a man has met me and said, "Oh, I love your energy, and I love your independence, and I love this and that about you." And the minute we're in a relationship, he's saying, "Don't do this, don't do that, don't do this, don't do this. This makes me jealous, this makes me such and such. You know, how can you behave that way?" It's happened to me so many times. That's what How Can I Believe is about. It's about, you know, how can somebody use those words and treat people the way they do. The way it works is there are different kinds of songs. Some of them just come from somewhere. And that's when you feel, in that sort of corny expression, like you're a receiver for something and you don't really understand how you wrote it at all. And then there's some that you get an inspiration, but you can't really carry through, and then you work hard to finish. And then there are ones I've written specifically for other people. I've never written a song that somebody else has done, but I'd never do myself. I can't detach myself to that extent from it. It has to be something that means something to me. But having said that, I can write more outside my own experience. Well, Darklands is an example, because I wrote that with Trevor Horn for the Mint Juleps, who were 6 girls from the East End, you know, the a cappella group. And that started out as a song for them about their life in Darklands as sort of the developers took over, and how actually 4 of the mint juleps were sisters. There were 4 Charles sisters in the mint juleps. And they told me and Trevor rather really, about how they had to go with their mother to the laundrette because she got mugged one day and somebody stole all their laundry. So we took that as a starting point for the song and for the first verse. And then as the song developed, I realized that if I didn't bring it into my own experience, it wasn't going to work as a song. So I just imagined what it was like for me being a sort of intelligent person in a very small redneck or closed-minded town, you know, where nobody really understood what was going on in my head at all, and where I sort of hated the politics of most of the people in my town, and felt very lonely, and couldn't think of anything but how soon could I get out of there. That's all I thought about. I've got to get out of this town as soon as I can. So Dockland sort of turned into my song in the end.
Mother says there are clothes to wash. Mother says brush your hair. We'll go down to the laundrette. Maybe your sister is there. Mother says when you're young like this, things can seem pretty bad. Let's get out, walk by the river. And there are people who roam the dark lands, and there are ships passing in the night. There are thousands of things that I have dreamed, gone in the daylight.
The way you hear it on the record is basically the same track that I demoed with Trevor on the first day, with a few with things added, and obviously fiddled about. The drums were fiddled and fiddled with, but all that weird stuff in the middle was all part of how I wrote it in the first place, because it just seemed like a sort of song that needed drama and stuff, so it was there. Every one of the songs is sort of the way it came out. It sort of happens to me naturally. I have a really strong sense of what is symmetrical and the way a song should be structured. Very strong sense of that. I really love snakes, so I had snakes for pets when I was a child. In fact, my first pet was a snake when I was about 17 months old, and it used to hang around my neck, and it was called Cookie. And I've always really loved snakes, but I've also loved what snakes symbolize, wisdom, you know, and a snake eating its own tail is an alchemical symbol for regeneration and transformation. And it's sort of, I was thinking about snakes a lot, and a snake eating its own tail a lot, and then I realized the girl who ate herself, a snake eating its own tail, symbolizes everything about this record. You know, it's how to take something and turn it into something else. It's about completion. It's about transforming negative energy into positive energy. And so, snake eating its own tail, the girl who ate herself. That's the title of the album, yeah. And it's true, I've never blushed. I've never blushed in my life.
The girl who ate herself never blushed. I believe she went diving out beyond the reef, where the ocean touched itself across the barriers. Nobody minded. Oh, diving, I want to lay on that deep end, die and go to heaven. Oh, diving, I want to lay on that deep end. I'll go diving.
Diving was a very quick track. I wrote all the words in one fell stream of consciousness swoop. Apart from the bit about I believe in love and everything, that was the bit that I didn't know what was going to happen till I got on the microphone, and I wrote all those words on the microphone when I was singing the rest of the vocal. It's about me having a relationship where I finally let somebody see me right down to the middle, you know, and not hide anything. Diving means I'm willing to face up to all the nasty bits of myself that I usually try to brush over and look at them and see what they're there for and how to deal with them. It means being what I am when I'm alone with another person and taking the risk that they won't love me anymore, except that they do still love me. He does still love me. He plays the piano on it, actually, that person. He's the person playing the piano at the end of the track. So I wrote Diving as a sort of tribute, and then to what was happening at the end, which was just kind of exploring things with somebody else. There's no way I can disguise the fact that this record is just a great big bundle of reactions and emotions and feelings, you know. It's getting all that stuff in my life down onto a record so I can get on with the next bit.
There's a long road that I am walking on, and at every turn I want to turn and run, and I don't know where this road is leading me. Journey came to be, and all along the road, those I've loved, some have walked beside me, some have faded slowly from my sight, but you were there, like a hand on my shoulder when I cry for what I've lost. Will you stay by my side till I'm wiser and older? Keep your hand upon my shoulder.
I've never really wanted to grow up because you have to lose a lot of things when you grow up. You have to give up a lot of things, and you do lose a lot of things. And it's quite painful, really. Growing up means throwing away a lot of illusions and a lot of fantasies that are quite useful for making one's life more pleasant, you know? But basically you have to go through the pain barrier, don't you, and throw all that stuff out. That's what growing up is about. And it's a scary time, so that's what hand on my shoulder is, to thank everybody who helps during that time. Because basically, I'm going through that time while I'm making this record. Bursts into tears. I think every one of these songs is it's a song about the way everybody feels. I'm sure that people, you know, who hear these songs know what it's about. You know, it's quite obvious what they're about, really. So I can sing them, and whatever the feeling that I feel when I'm singing them, which I'm a bit frightened about, because the only thing I worry about is bursting into tears while I'm singing these songs. I did so frequently in the studio. I had to lose vocals because I would just burst into tears in the middle, because I get so emotional. So apart from worrying about bursting into tears on stage, I think I'm quite looking forward to that aspect of it.